Welcome to the OnlyRoofers podcast. My name's Elizabeth, and I'm here with my co-host Vince.
Hi, guys.
Today, we are interviewing Jen Silver, the founder of Roofing Utah. Welcome, Jen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been awesome. D2DCon's pretty cool, right?
In your backyard, right?
Yes, super convenient.
Travel time is a lot?
It was a whole 25 minutes this
Wow.
morning during rush hour.
Impressive.
Yeah, it was really difficult. It's actually nice because I travel a lot
Right.
for conferences, and so to have one
At home.
in my backyard at home, plus to support Utah's economy, it's been a really awesome experience.
Nice.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about how Roofing Utah got started. What made you get into the roofing game?
Well, I don't know that most people try to be roofers, right? Like, I think either you grow up in roofing or you fall into roofing. I think those are really the only two ways I've seen people get into it. I'm kind of in the middle in that I wanted to get into outside sales and I wanted construction. Construction is a stable industry. I was a single mom. You know, being in commission sales was a scary place to be, but it's so flexible. And I was like, okay, what can I do and support my family, make enough money and have flexibility? Outside sales made sense, construction made sense. So that's kind of how I ended up getting into roofing. But I never thought I'd own a roofing company, that's for sure.
So single mom getting into sales commission. Let's talk maybe to the women out there or single parents as a whole that are in commission sales. What are some of the struggles that it comes from being a parent in that situation, that kind of type of job?
Well, I think, honestly, when you have fear around scarcity, all you attract is scarcity. And so it was really important to me to look at what my fears actually were and whether or not my fears were realistic. And when I'm evaluating fear, I'm like, okay, what is the worst case scenario if I go down this path? What is the worst case scenario if I go down this path? What's the worst case scenario if I go down this path? Really, when you look at worst case scenarios, they're nothing like you actually think that they
Overhype
are.
it in your head.
Yeah.
You do. And the worst case scenario was I failed, and what was that going to mean? Nothing. I just go
Back to
find
where I
another
started.
job, right? Like, it's really not the
I'm at
end
zero
of the
now,
world.
so.
Yeah, exactly. This didn't work. Okay, it doesn't mean that I'm a failure. It just means that that didn't work. Once I can kind of dissect that and get through that, then honestly, it makes it so that it's almost impossible to
So
fail.
the journey you went right into your owning your own company?
No, I went to work at SRS, actually, is where I started, sitting at the front desk. And
wow.
Yeah, it was quite an adventure. And that was in September of 2017. But I learned everything about roofing, from components to
From the
the other
desk.
contractors. And, you know, in taking orders, I'd be like, oh, what's this for? You know, and I'd go and ask somebody, oh, why did they order this on this one?
So you got paid to do free mastermind picking.
Yeah, exactly, right?
You sat there and
I
you're
got a
just
free
picking brains,
education.
picking
Yeah, I
brains,
got a free
picking brains.
education.
Gotcha.
I love that.
And Utah, there's not a lot of women in roofing, and
Right.
so there was a lot of support by not only the contractors, but by not suppliers, because that's what SRS is, but by distributors, manufacturers, and other people to make sure that I got the training that I needed, and I'm really grateful
They
for
were
that.
very supportive of you.
Oh, incredibly
So
supportive.
how long after you were got your desk job at SRS were you in the field opening your own company?
So I started in SRS in September of 2017, and I opened Roofing Utah in December of 2019.
It's 2 years of picking brains and boom.
Yeah, and I worked for another company in between, but yes.
You got the expedited version of the roofing industry. That's amazing to hear.
I did. I got the really quick education, and honestly, I know that there's still a lot about roofing that I don't know, and I hope that it's always that way, because
Yeah.
I hope that
The
we
industry
can.
Industry evolves.
Yeah, the industry evolves and things continue to change, and I love that part of it. But I have so many contacts that I've made through working with the suppliers and going to conventions. When I run into something I don't know, I'm not afraid to say, hey, I don't know. Would you do it this way? Or would you do it this way? And most of the time I find that I'm right in my thinking of how I should perform a certain job, whether or not, it should be coated or torn off, or, from a TPO standpoint, especially right now with the way supplies are, you have to be more creative when it comes to a
Definitely.
temporary fix that's long enough that,
Semi-temporary.
Semi-temporary,
That
right?
can get them through
Semi-permanent.
this time.
Through the next
Yeah.
6 to 12 months, depending on how long it takes for materials to come in. So
When you were working in the SRS supplier side, how did you feel looking at all these different materials? Was there ever like a specific manufacturer or products that really caught your attention? For me, I love underlayments. That's like I'm.
You just like-
I
you
just
just
like
like
the
them?
underlayment process. Like
This just got weird.
well, because if you think about it, it doesn't matter what kind of system it is on the slope side, you need underlayment. So I feel like it's one of the most necessary components, and that's why I have had a weird passion for it. It's like my weird side geek thing. What
Well,
about
what
for
do you think about breathable underlayments? Because I really like breathable underlayments. We can have a total underlayment conversation.
Yeah. Let's not go on underlayment.
I told you this
tangent.
got weird.
We're not going to talk about underlayments anymore.
I'm the only dude here, and they're talking about underlayments.
You know, honestly, when I am looking at a manufacturer, I am looking at relationship, one, because to me, I need to know that that manufacturer is going to be their word,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
Especially when it comes to warranties and what I'm selling to my customers. So relationship, and secondly, how marketable is their
product.
message, right? So one thing I will give it up to Malarkey about is their green marketing. Like they do an incredible job at advertising the way that they're green. I don't buy a ton of Malarkey right now, but I think that they by far...
You respect their
I
advertising.
respect their marketing around green products specifically. And I
Right.
am
Their
looking at...
core, their mission.
Yeah, and I don't even know that it's completely their core of their mission. I don't know, or I don't know, but it sure seems like that.
Right.
Right? And I know that other manufacturers do a lot to stay green as well, but they don't market it the same.
Yeah.
So it just becomes
Right.
a different
It's a
conversation.
cherry on the
Or
top.
say
It's not the meat and the
they-
potatoes.
Yeah, and
Do
it's
a
like,
lot.
how do I differentiate myself as a roofer? One of the things I looked at was creating a green package, because that,
It's big in Utah.
it can be if I make it big. What? Anything I decide I want to make big, I just decide that's how it's going to be, and then it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's huge. Let's talk a little bit about that, because that's definitely always been my way of thinking. If I make a decision, that's what it is. We're sticking to it, going 10x all the way into this decision. So for you, when you decided Roofing Utah is it, what was like that moment when you started hiring your employees? Was it like getting the office? Because that is one of the most exciting parts when you're starting to grow. Obviously, you go through ups and downs. We all do. What are some of the proudest moments that you have since starting Roofing Utah?
Well, that is a really great question. So I started Roofing Utah probably in a little different mindset than what most business owners start. So I worked for a company that went out of business due to some legal issues. And I had taken the general contracting exam to become their qualifier, and they lost their business license prior to me being able to replace them. So I already had employees, and a lot of them wanted to come and encouraged me to start a roofing company. I had never planned on it. I had no reserve capital. I had nothing. I was just like, okay, well, it can't be that much different than being a GM. I guess I can kind of figure it out if you guys are willing to do the journey with me. Probably one of my proudest moments was February of 2021. The company that I had worked for before, we completed a large amount of work for them, and unfortunately they had a large accounts receivables and never collected on, which then they were not able to pay us the deposits on the work that we had done. So I took a $150,000 loss my first year in business.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
First year in business, 150 loss.
Yeah.
Well, it was all the money that I had in my budget for growth. So to buy vehicles, to secure buildings, to do those types of things. And when that money didn't come in February of last year, I thought we were done, And I have my employees, and we were sitting at the kitchen table at my house. And I'm like, guys, we're down to $8,000 in our bank account. I don't know how we're going to make payroll. They can't pay any of it. It's the middle of winter. I think we're done. And my team looked at me and said, you two single moms, you two take a check, and the rest of us are going to work for free.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I just started crying.
Wow.
Right? And I'm
That's
like,
super emotional.
to this day, it's super emotional.
Wow.
Now, I had applied for the second round of PPP right at the same time, but the first round took a long time, so I anticipated the second round would take a long time, and it didn't. It funded in like 2 days, and so I never had to actually go that route. But just to see
commitment.
They had your
support
back.
and the commitment. That's probably one of my proudest moments.
That's incredible.
Yeah, in my
How
life.
did you
to be
how did
honest.
you guys get to that, like the culture that you built so rapidly, right? Because you were only working with them at the other company for what, I mean, less than a year. So how did you guys form such a strong relationship that when you started Roofing Utah, they were willing to go through the highs and the lows with you?
Yeah, because the employees are usually the ones that
Yeah,
jump off
the
ship.
first one.
I'm not getting paid. I'm
I
sorry. I
think-
love you,
sorry,
but I'm
peace
out.
out.
I think that millennials stay committed when you're present and with them and working together, right?
I love that.
Now, I ended up losing the majority of my team, and not because of financial reasons, but because I was out on the road. And so when I left my company, we were really slow, and we really underestimated organic growth. And organic growth is crazy if you've ever experienced it. Yeah, it's great, but we went from 78 impressions in the month of August to 661 organic impressions in the first week of September. And so the business exploded, and I had committed to a tour, and it was really hard to lead from afar. And that was more detrimental to my team's morale than any
Anything
of the
else,
other
wow.
things that we had been through. And it was a great learning lesson for me as a leader, right? To realize that I wouldn't say it was a bad decision, because it's been a wonderful decision, but there was a cost associated with that. And had I had understood,
Everything has a price.
Had I had understood, I may have set it up differently. But at this point,
Maybe got
I'm
it
grateful.
Close to the same result, or maybe better,
Correct.
or handled
Correct.
better.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things I learned from.
I think, thank you so much for sharing all of these points with us, because a lot of the times people just want to talk about the good of having a roofing company, of being a leader. But really, when you're there through the bad times, we all know, and as business owners, that there is bad times. Like, if we're all going to be honest, we all have those days.
And
but
no one wants to talk about them.
yeah, but being able to acknowledge it, and then the best thing from what you have said, acknowledge and grow, right? Like, if I would have known, I would do differently. So I'm pretty sure if a case presents itself now, you're not going to handle it the same way. And now it's going to make you a better leader. So I love that. I'm all about improvement, learning, developing yourself. So I thank you so much for sharing that.
No, absolutely. And I think that we fixate too much on what we would consider failure in life in general as a society.
Just a hiccup.
Yeah, and it isn't. It's a lesson, right? Like, I try to find the golden lesson in every failure, whether it made me feel bad or whether it ruined my life, or that was the perception at the moment. I still try to find the value and the growth opportunity, because I think it's just part of it. And I learn way more from failures than I do from successes.
Right.
I think most of us
No,
do.
100%.
Yeah.
If you're only succeeding, it's almost scary.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
It gets really boring too.
well, that plus also you just think like there's going to be a bigger failure. You're building up to a bigger failure,
Yep.
not a small failure or anything like that.
It's an epic crash then, right? Yeah.
But kind of reverting back to what you said, that's abundance mindset, right? There's always going to be abundance of success. There's going to be an abundance of failures, and just kind of accepting the good with the bad. So that's amazing to hear. So tell us a little bit about how now that's evolving to your next phase of your career, because now you're becoming a powerhouse. You just made it onto the Roofing Contractor magazine
I did,
cover.
thank you.
So
Yeah.
talk to us a little bit about that feeling for yourself as well.
It's super overwhelming, like, I'm not gonna lie. Very humbling, a lot to be responsible for, but at the same time, incredibly empowering. Let's talk a year ago, and I'm sitting at my table thinking we're not going to be in business. Never would I have thought that life was going to take me down this path. And whether you believe in the universe or you believe in God, I personally use the word God, but I think when paths unfold, and you are diligent and you follow the path that you're supposed to, life just becomes easier, and the right people continue to cross into your life, and things just continue to flow. And when you resist those paths, whether you think it's self-limiting beliefs, you're not worthy, or there's something else that looks better maybe than what you think, life tends to start to fall apart. So I've been really diligent on following that path. Since I've done that, life has just continued to grow and blossom and bloom.
Aligning
and it's
yourself with the
wonderful.
right people.
Correct.
Being a person whose vision is always consistent. Like, those are things that are powerful at the end of the day. And that just goes to show everyone out there, it's not just where you're at today, maybe running a roofing company or starting a roofing company. You never know where your path's going to lead you and who you're going to end up leading as well. Because now you get the chance to show other women in the industry and open open up a new path as well. And that applies to so many of us out there that might be scared to take the next leap, to take the next challenge. So look, this is an example for you guys of what can happen for you. And, I'm sure Jen's going to have plenty of new challenges coming up that we can't wait to hear about.
Yes, there will be some, and I am more than willing to share and talk about what I did to push through them, because I think that it's important. I don't think as a society we talk enough about the things that we struggle with.
We only talk about success.
Yeah, and we feel isolated, right? Like
only
we're
show
the
success.
only people that felt that way, or the only people that went that way, and social media is to blame because it's a highlight reel. And I do a lot on social media. I'm not saying that it's not a great tool, but I think we need, those of us that maybe have a lot more people that watch
some
us,
type of impact.
The more authentic we can be, truly authentic and raw and real about the stuff, the bad things that we've done in our life that we learn from, and the challenges, and how we push through them is what becomes so important to people.
It's funny you say that. I've been thinking for probably the last 2 years now, even, is like, you see on Instagram, you see on Facebook, everyone talk about, do this, do that, 10x, so on, and it's all wonderful, it's rah, and it's great, and a lot of it's true, right? None of them ever show you your failures, right? And I always wondered, like, if you were able to figure out, that's what I've been trying to figure out, is for 2 years, basically, only show failures, right? Because it normalizes it so much, and they're not failures, they're not monster failures, humanizes it,
that's the right
right?
word, yeah.
Because, like, so many business owners, this roofing industry, pest control, everything, everyone has problems, and everyone has failures, and they're not talked about, they're not shown, they're brushed under the carpet, because why does everyone want to know that I owe some vendor 50 grand or 100 grand,
or that I was depressed,
exactly,
or that I lost somebody, or that I have anxiety, or like there's so many different things out there that we feel like it's only us, or I'm going through a divorce, or my spouse had an affair, or I had an affair, or all of the different things that go on. I think we're so afraid of being judged.
That's what it is.
Instead of realizing that there are going to be people in judgment.
But also, like, people don't want to work with someone who always, like, that's my concern, is if I put out my failures, it's like, well, I'm tying my horse to the carriage that's going down, right? But I'm not going down. I'm just having some trouble for the next 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, whatever. But
sometimes it might even be just a day or two.
Exactly.
You just got to figure out a problem. I think also, it's humanizing ourselves as business owners gives us the opportunity to be more creative. Like for myself, I went through failure very early in life. My first business when I was 16. So I was like, okay, if I fail at something, I'm fine. So I was able to get through the fear of failure very early on. But now it's perception of, like, how do you want people to perceive you, right? And also not to split the industry into men versus women, but as a male-dominated industry, it's a huge amount of inflated ego, where now I think that there's a huge opportunity for women, and I think that's also our servant side of bringing what we can bring to the industry, is to help people realize, like, I get it, you're a strong man, you can do this, but it's okay if you didn't have a good day, like, you're still just a person as well.
I think that there's a lot of truth in that. And I also think that COVID, everybody having to go through something like that at the same time, has brought some humility in general, right?
I love that.
I think everybody experienced either some type of major life change, whether it was divorce, whether it was financial issues, whether it was the loss of jobs, kids being at home, depression. I mean, it was a struggle that we all went through, and I think now is a good opportunity, or I think we'll see more of an opportunity for people to be okay being raw and being real. What people don't want to see is the victim, right? And there's a very
poor
different,
me.
there's a very
that's what I mean.
different.
It's hard finding that poor me.
Right. It's a different conversation to say, hey, I had a suicide attempt and this is what I did and got through it, or I'm suicidal all the time and I just can't,
Right, exactly.
There's
a different tone, there's a different whole outlook to that conversation.
Yes, and I think that that's important when you're, talking, whether you choose to share publicly on things, is what happened, how you handled it, how you pushed through it, and how you're a better person because of it. Because that's what people need. They need the hope that there is another side.
100%.
And tools to get through those things.
100%.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jen.
Absolutely.
If there's one last mindset tip, I know you've given us so many. This definitely, we never know how an interview is going to go because we keep it really authentic and raw ourselves. That's who we are. We're goofballs. But as far as for you, what is like your one thing that's going to get you through 2022 and it's going to help you push Roofing Utah now into your new season that's coming up. That's going to help you develop One Industry, One Model, your conference. Guys, check it out.
Yes, please.
And so what is your one mental strategy that you're going to really narrow on and focus on this year?
So one thing that I've noticed as, you know, I don't know if it's popularity or I become more noticeable, then out comes haters. Right? Just like anything that I feel like is good, you're going to get the opposite. Evil's going to come through, or
Always
people are going to try to stop you. And I am committed, no matter what, is to being true to myself. And who I am is not an attacking person. I am not going to go back after them. I'm not going to say mean things back. It's just not who I am. I actually pray for people. No, and I pray for them and I feel sorry for them because it's really just a result of insecurity or other things going on in their life. It's not a reflection of me.
Limiting belief, what you said.
Self-limiting beliefs. So my biggest commitment to myself in 2022 is no matter what is said or what goes on, to stay true to who I am, what I'm up to, my family, my core values and beliefs, and everything else will be okay.
Thank you all
Thanks
so much for watching. This was really amazing to have a very positive mindset, motivational kind of podcast. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thanks for coming on, Jen.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
appreciate you. Check us out on the next episode of the Only Roofers podcast. You never know what you're in for.